You don't see this every day. A sitting president and first lady of a major world power are suing an American commentator. Today, we are diving deep into the official legal complaint filed by Emmanuel and Brigitte Macron, a document that kicks off a pretty wild international legal battle.
Right? That's the big question. It really sets the stage for what is a truly unprecedented legal fight. You've got the head of state of a G7 nation going up against a private American citizen, and it's all happening in a courtroom in Delaware. This is where a global firestorm officially meets the American justice system.
And this isn't just some media spat or a war of words on social media. Nope, this is a formal, honest-to-goodness defamation lawsuit. So what we're going to do is go directly to the source, the court filing itself, to really understand the specific arguments the Macron's legal team is making.
Okay, so let's start with the absolute core of it. What is the central claim here? What is this entire international confrontation really about?
According to the filing, it all centers on these, well, extraordinary allegations. The complaint argues that these theories started out in France, but were then amplified to this massive global audience by Owens, and this led to what the Macron's lawyers call a campaign of global humiliation.
Now, what's really interesting is that the legal filing doesn't frame this as just one single incident. Instead, it very carefully lays out a timeline to argue that this was actually a deliberate and escalating campaign that went on for months.
The complaint literally walks us through this, step by step. It starts with the theory's origins in some far-right circles in France, then shows its amplification by Owens, and it all leads up to the legal demands that came right before this lawsuit was filed.
And get this is a really crucial point from the filing. It claims the legal warning didn't stop anything. In fact, the lawsuit alleges that the retraction demand itself became the reason for creating even more content. It's like the legal threat was turned into a whole new chapter of the story.
So, this brings us to the big question of why. According to the lawsuit, what was the primary motivation behind pushing this story so hard?
Well, the court document really paints a picture of two very different public figures here. On one side, it details Brigitte Macron's life, a former teacher, a mother, a public figure. And on the other side, it portrays Candace Owens as a commentator who, and I'm quoting the filing here, has built a brand on provocation, not truth.
And just to underscore the kind of impact we're talking about, the lawsuit repeatedly brings up Owens' massive social media reach. It points to her 7.2 million followers on X as a key reason why this story spreads so far, so fast, all around the globe. And this post right here is basically used as Exhibit A for the lawsuit's argument about motive. The filing claims that right after she left the Daily Wire, Owens grabbed onto this incredibly sensational story as the perfect way to launch her new independent brand and grow her audience really, really quickly.
Okay, so if the lawsuit argues the motive is all about building a brand, how does it actually try to prove in court that the claims were legally defamatory? This is where we get into the evidence and the very high legal bar at the center of this case.
So, because the Macrons are public figures, their lawsuit faces a really high legal hurdle here in the US. It's called actual malice. And what that means is they have to prove not just that the claims were false, but that Owens knew they were false, or that she just showed a reckless disregard for the truth. It's a standard that's there to protect a free press, and believe me, it is notoriously difficult to prove in court. So, to build that case, the lawsuit quotes Owens directly from her show. This is one of the core statements at the heart of the defamation case, and it's presented as a very clear, factual claim that's now being legally challenged.
And in response to those claims, the Macron legal team puts this document right into the filing. It's a birth announcement from a local paper. It's offered up as verifiable public record evidence of Brigitte Macron's birth as a female, evidence the lawsuit alleges Owens knew about but chose to ignore.
All right, so let's zoom out for a second. Beyond all the specific legal claims, what does a case like this even mean? Why should a lawsuit filed in Delaware matter to the rest of us in this global media landscape?
The outcome here could have huge ripple effects. It's testing the very boundaries of defamation law across international borders. Can a foreign leader actually sue an American citizen for speech that might be protected here in the US? It also forces a really big conversation about the responsibilities of creators on these massive global platforms.
When you boil it all down, this lawsuit really comes down to a fundamental conflict in our modern world. One person's right to free speech versus another person's right to be protected from what they see as global defamation. And now a court in Delaware is going to have to decide where exactly that line gets drawn.